I opened my report to you last year with the same phrase, and I've shared them with every congregation and community I have visited over the past year, 26 visits across 13 states. Imagine a healthy Unitarian Universalist community that is alive with transforming power, moving in our communities and the world towards more love, more justice, and more peace. Those words still animate my work for this liberal faith and inform my report to you on how your governance structure is responding to that vision. I've been reading Turning Point, Essays on a New Unitarian Universalism, edited by Fred Muir, the senior minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis. I strongly recommend it to anyone in this hall and beyond who cares for this faith and wants it to remain a prophetic voice in the public square. Muir challenges us to acknowledge and correct our trinity of eras. He writes, fundamental to our survival is a paradigm shift, a frame bending that goes deep in the history and character of Unitarian Universalism, because it goes to the essence of how we understand ourselves and in turn relate to the world at large, which means how do we relate in our demographic context. He continues, fundamental to our future is recognizing our way of faith, from its leadership to its Sunday service to justice-making partnerships, have been supported and nurtured by this trinity of eras, leading not only to ineffectiveness, but also to an inability to share our liberating message. This is to say, while Unitarian Universalism's gospel is good news, it is losing its vitality and relevance. He defines the trinity of eras this way. One, we are being held back and stymied by persistent, pervasive, and disruptive commitment to individualism that misguides our ability to engage the changing times. We cling to a Unitarian Universalist exceptionalism that is often insulting to others and undermines our good news. We refuse to acknowledge and treat our allergy to authority and power, though all the symptoms compromise a healthy future. But Muir offers a trinity of promises that I want to speak to as an antidote to our trinity of eras: generosity, pluralism, and imagination. And I want to report on these promises that the moderator and the UUA Board of Trustees are pursuing: generosity, pluralism, imagination. First, generosity. It's no secret that costs are up and congregational fair giving to our association is down. You've heard about that this week. The Board of Trustees charged Larry Ladd, our financial advisor, until I think tonight or tomorrow night, to form a task force, collaborate with the stewardship and development staff and others, and then bring to the board recommendations to imagine an APF approach that was not based on membership, but a percentage of income. The Southern region has been testing such an approach, and we have learned much from their pilot. The second of Muir's trinity of promises is pluralism. This General Assembly is a great example of our understanding of the power of pluralism. Consider our theme, Heartland, where faiths connect. Peter Morales has made multi-faith pluralism central to his presidency, working with partners in our justice and anti-oppression work, as well as with progressive faith movements, many of whose leaders were here with us this week. He wrote in the summer edition of UU World, Unitarian Universalism has long been a multi-faith faith. As such, I believe we have a unique opportunity to bring faiths together and to lead a multi-faith movement. I agree with him. But we have to focus on pluralism in our congregations as well, specifically in how we practice our fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. We've been urging congregations to send delegates to GA and consider underwriting their expense for many years. However, typically less than 40–50% of our delegates, our congregations, bother to send delegates, and fewer still offer financial support to attend. Our most recent data suggests 28% of delegates receive some financial support, but it is not typically substantive. As a result, our delegate body tends to be older, whiter, and privileged, who have the time and money to pay their own way. This apathy towards participating in the democratic process closes out an opportunity for congregations to consider youth, young adults, people of color, and economic fragility. Last year, the Board of Trustees established a scholarship fund to attract an appropriately diverse body of delegates. The Saturday collection in last year's general session, along with gifts from the board and senior staff, matched by the Davidoff Fund, raised approximately $28,000 to support the participation of delegates at this General Assembly. And while I'm delighted that we were able to award 87 scholarships to support delegates, I was disappointed that we didn't hear from more congregations, and those congregations that didn't support fully. The third part of Muir's Trinity of Promises is imagination. And I must confess, this third part of the Trinity is the one that most animates me. I have shared with many of you in various settings my personal story of having been diagnosed with stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer in 1999. The morbidity rates were grim. 5% of those so diagnosed might live for 1 year. Only 1% might live for 5 years. I quickly imagined that I'd be in the 1%. Several times a day during my 10 months of chemotherapy, I imagined little Pac-Men consuming those rapidly multiplying cancer cells. I envisioned the toxic brew of my carboplatin infusions melting away the diseased cells. Further, I imagined myself surrounded by Liz, my children, my grandson, friends, and my new UU community. I would gather them in my imagination at a beach on Pangor Laut. It's an island on the west coast of Malaysia where Liz and I had been privileged to holiday when we lived and worked in Asia. Imagining the healing provided by good science, amplified by the unconditional love of family and friends, was incredibly powerful. Every day for many years, I imagined my health restored. I still return to Pangor Laut in my imagination as I have a need. Friends, it was imagination that got me to the 1%. And I've lived to see my family grow from 1 grandson in 1999 to 6 grandchildren in 2016. I believe in the power of imagination, visioning, and wishing to move Unitarian Universalism to a place of more love, more justice, and more peace. You do too, apparently. We have congregations move into actualizing the beloved community as a result of the Mosaic Makers Initiative, with many congregations and communities having tough conversations on race stemming from the beloved Conversations curriculum. If you don't have it, get it. Moreover, district leaders are imagining other ways of shaping governance. 3 districts in the Midwest consolidated into 1 region 2 years ago, and 8 districts in the South and Central Northeast have voted to dissolve and defer governance to the UUA. Trust, imagination. The 4 districts in New England have entered into an agreement to dissolve governance structures over time. All of this right-sizing of governance structure is freeing hundreds of folks for other ministries that are bending the arc of the moral universe towards justice. The board is in an imagination mode as well. At my request, the board established a task force to reflect on how we might focus on covenant over membership. I asked the delegates last year to imagine, rather than signing the book, people entered and were welcomed into covenant that would be renewed periodically. Imagine if congregations and communities entered and were welcomed into mutual covenant with the larger association that would be renewed periodically. You'll have a chance at this General Assembly today to share with that task force what that might look like. The chair of the Renewing the Covenant Task Force, the Reverend Dr. Susan Ritchie, and her team have been considering what a network of UU networked communities might look like and how that network could energize our faith. Many of you will participate in our breakout groups today that I'll give you some details on later. The board is imagining through its committee working group how we might further streamline governance structures. We now have 13 committees of the board and 6 committees authorized and elected by you, the delegates. Do we need all of them all of the time? Are they all a good investment of our governance costs? Are they the right size? Should they have variable members as needed? Should they be elected or appointed? Do they advance our ends? Do they have a sunshine clause that requires reauthorizing from time to time? A covenant to be renewed, as it were. Can we imagine the Goldilocks just right committee structure for a religious movement of under 200,000 members? The board will bring some suggestions to you as early as New Orleans next year. One committee's already told us they should be dissolved. Some committees have already advised that they will bring bylaws next year to reduce the size of their committee. So we're on our way. I can imagine a different way of delegates to discern position on bylaws, business resolutions, and actions of immediate witness that allow time to learn together before any up or down votes are taken. We've modeled some ways of doing that discernment at this GA. We'll do more as we go forward. You and the congregations, you are the UUA, not the board or the staff. Participation in the democratic process is how you direct us to act on your behalf between general assemblies. That is our covenant. That is our polity. But still, too few congregations participate, and fewer still offer any financial support, as I said earlier. We must find ways for broader participation in the business of our association. I speak to this issue everywhere I go, but it's up to you. You must do this as leaders and bring this back to your congregations. One last observation. Reverend Gail Seavey, senior minister at First Unitarian Universalist in Nashville, delivered a powerful address at Minister Days in her Berry Street essay. She detailed graphically our history of clergy sexual abuse and our institutional temerity over the decades to recognize, acknowledge, and treat this cancer. We have not always treated complainants with the pastoral care that we should. We've sometimes been more interested in institutional reputation. As a candidate, I supported an initiative from the Safety Net organization, a social justice committee at the First UU in Nashville, to work with the administration to improve processes, work with the MFC to update policies. All have been responsive, all are moving forward on that, and we've taken some action, much action on that. The board and I are currently working with Marie Fortune, a consultant in this area, to assess our webpage directions and access. She's given us a report, and we'll begin to act on that after General Assembly. I close with this reflection, again from Fred Muir. Living as 21st century Unitarian Universalists means restoring a faith that is religious and spiritual, covenantal and experiential, progressive and evangelical. From the Trinity of promises, beloved community will be shaped, and the future of our faith can deepen and grow again. May it be so. Thank you.